house needs painting, grass needs mowing, where's he at?
Hi, this is Hank. Sorry I missed your call. Leave me your name and your number and I'll get back to you.
He's gone fishing.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Mossy Oak and Liqui Moly.
Well, that's an alarm. Hit cancel.
I used to be dyslexic, but now I'm KO.
It's recording. Don't touch anything. Everything's recording.
Right, we're recording.
Not the Taco Bell cup.
Right. Have energetic when you say hello and welcome.
I ain't doing it like that, but you gotta let me take creative liberty now. You gotta let me have creative liberty with that.
Can we start the podcast now?
All right, creative liberty, go for it.
Welcome to Off the Water with Hank Parker. I'm your co-host, Sarah Beth, and you are?
I'm Hank Parker, and Sarah Beth's full of life today.
Back.
We're ready to go, man. We're excited.
Indeed.
We got a podcast.
So excited.
Yeah, I
sat out of the last one. I was filming it, and, y'all were just talking about me like I wasn't even there.
You're a camera girl. No,
sure
we said
was.
nice things about you,
did.
Sarah. We did. We said real nice things.
All right. Well, getting into today's podcast, I have some questions for you.
I knew it was that time.
It is that time. Well, the first question is, what have you been up to and what are your future plans?
My agenda, it's always busy. It seems like I'm always got something going on, always staying busy. I've been shooting my bow a lot, getting ready for that. I met a guy up at Bass Pro, and he's got these feeders called Wicked feeders. And he was explaining to me, and I get so tired of messing with batteries, charging batteries, feeder hung up. And I use a great feeder that I like. It came out of Texas, out of Beaumont, Texas, called One and Done. And I like them, but still you still get them stopped up when the batteries get weak, and you just have issues. And Bo was telling me that he'd been through all of that. And he had designed these gravity feeders. Well, one of the main reasons I like to use a feeder for deer hunting is I don't like to go in there all the time, every other day or every 3 days or every 4 days and put out food. I like to have it there and leave it and not have to go in there but every 6 or 7 weeks. So he's got a feeder that holds about 8 pounds of corn called a Wicked feeder. So my deer are scared of their shadow. I mean, anything freaks them out. And so he was talking about the reason he designed these feeders low profile was they're not so evasive or offensive to the deer. And so we put them out. Bo came down, brought his family, brought his 2 boys and his wife, and we spent Saturday a couple of weeks ago putting out these Wicked feeders, and it has taken my deer. I've had to work at it a little bit. Most of the time when Bo puts these things out, within 2 or 3 days, the deer are there and they're showing up and doing their thing. But here, boy, I put out a live trap to try to catch a raccoon around my deer feeders, and the deer don't come back for a week just for a live trap. So I knew it was going to be a tough sale. So it took 1 week for most of the places. I put out 4 of them, and 2 of the places had deer on them within a week, but the other has taken 2 weeks, but I got deer feeding now. So I've been working on that. I go out there and I put food all around. I put little breadcrumb trails trying to lead them up to it, and I use these cameras called Wise Eye. And they've got this thing called hunt control, so they send them to my phone so I can tell what's going on, and I position the cameras where I can see them all hiding in the bushes and peeking, and they wouldn't come in, so I had to really encourage them. So I've been working on that, been spending some time in the woods and putting up a few deer stands. I haven't fallen, hadn't had to take any helicopter rides. I've been hooking up with my hunter safety system. Not yet. My hunter safety system. I'm all hooked up. I'm being careful, but it's that time of the year, and then fishing, it's been so incredibly hot. I've never been around where I see water temperature in the 90s, surface temperature 90 degrees. That's unreal for us, I think. And when I say us, I'm talking about Piedmont, South Carolina, center of the state of South Carolina. Yeah. have 90-degree surface temperature.
It's like bath water. It's like a hot
Golly,
tub.
and it's so miserable.
So
I mean,
bad.
I don't know if it's because I'm getting old,
No, me
or
too.
if it's just that it's just been that hot and humid.
Yeah.
I have really not enjoyed. I've gone a lot, but usually about 2:00 in the afternoon, I'm wrapping it up. I mean, I've had enough.
God, that day we were out there with the boys' farm fishing. That was miserable. That was so miserable. It was so hot. So just know that's not an age thing, because even those boys were out there sweating like, oh man, we're ready to go inside.
Yeah, those kids. I have to mention this, and I may have mentioned it before. I don't have great recall. I'm about as sharp as an anvil. On the wrong end of a butter knife. I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree. Christmas tree got light bulbs, you get it? I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree. So I may have mentioned this, but when I fished with the guys from the boy farm, and I won't mention his name, but I've fished with him twice. I fished with him last year and again this year. And he's about 14 years old this past year. And he's talking about his mom's in prison. And his dad hadn't seen him in forever. And he wasn't sure whether his mom or dad loved him. And it was really touching to me, and I was so grateful for his transparency. Last year he was a lot more, played the cards much closer to his vest. This year he was very transparent with me, and I said, well, no one has a choice on who their parents are going to be. We don't have a choice of our environment. We don't have anything at all to do with our birth, and we could be born in a third world country. I mean, we have no control over that.
Right.
And so you shouldn't be you shouldn't be defined by your parents and by your situation and your home life. And you've got your whole life. And he stopped me midstream. He said, "Oh no, Mr. Parker, let me just tell you, I'm not going to let what's happening in my life define who I am. I'm so encouraged," and he said, I've got a whole life ahead of me, and I'm going to be somebody. I'm determined, and my situation in my life and where I've come, he said, "No, sir, that does not affect me. I'm going to rise above all of that, and it's not going to define me."
Well, I think he understood that it wasn't his fault, because I'm in the boat and I'm recording, and this is kind of in between while we're waiting for something to bite.
Yeah.
And we all just started talking, and he just laid it out on the table, and I think he just understood that it's not his fault.
But
that his parents ended
what
up
a
that
great
way.
testimony is that to the boys' farm. What a great testimony is that to his house parents.
Being so young too, and realizing that is really, really awesome, because that takes some people a long time to actually
Well, but
come to that
I go
understanding.
back again. What a testimony to the boys' farm and the house parents, because it's because of them that he's developed this incredible positive attitude. They've made him feel loved, they've made him feel appreciated, and they've made him feel important.
And that's a strong thing to instill, because I'm sure a lot of those boys feel worthless. Like, I mean, I couldn't imagine. I've never grown up with my parents not loving me or ever having to question if my family loves me, because y'all have always been there. So I couldn't imagine how that probably beats them down and makes them feel like they're not enough or that they're worthless. So that's a really great thing to instill.
Yeah, I felt like
It's a
that,
great
and
thing.
I was so proud of him, and I'm so proud of the boys' farm for what they do. And I pick up on that just talking about how hot it's been, and we started on the boys' farm and how miserable it was, how wonderful it was. It was not at all miserable with the boys. It was just miserable weather.
But miserable weather. I mean, they had those frog togs out, and everybody was trying to cover up from the sun.
Yeah, we need to clarify that. It was a wonderful day, and had it not been so hot, it would have been a perfect day. The weather kind of kept it from being a perfect day, but it's the way it's been all summer. So I've been fishing some in the afternoon. I mean, in the mornings, and in the afternoons, I've been coming home and doing some practicing with my bow and getting ready for deer season. And not that I'm going to hunt a whole lot. I've got some kids coming to hunt, and I've got my kids coming and some grandkids coming. So we and you, and we've got a lot. We've got a lot going on. So I like to prepare for that. Won't be long, just a couple of weeks, and I'll be planting my food plots. Mm-hmm. A little bit risky because army worms are a terror, and they hit in September pretty bad. So you're taking a little bit of a chance planting early, but I like to have those food plots ready for my grandbabies.
Ain't no reward without risk, as they say.
Risk and reward. Well, it's a lot of risk. You know, I plant food plots different, and I have my neighbors over there. My neighbors just the other day contacted me on how in the world do I have the best looking food plots in the world. They're right next door, and they can't even come close to getting a food plot like I've got. And how in the world? And I've got a whole different philosophy, and I've been told by progressive farmers what I'm trying to do doesn't work. But hey, it's worked for me for 10 years.
Right.
And I don't use herbicides to kill the grass. I go in and I mow the grass down with a bush hog, and then I come and turn that grass over and let the roots be exposed to the sun, and I let them lay there about a week or so, and then I'll plow that into the ground, and then I plant. And I plant Biologic Green Patch Plus, and I'm going to tell you why. It is the perfect blend, and Bobby Cole down at Mossy Oak, I asked Bobby one time, I said, Bobby, I don't get that much benefit from wheat. Do we need to put the wheat? He said, oh, you get more benefit from the wheat than you'll ever think. See, that wheat comes up first, and it'll hold that ground tight and keep that moisture for the rest of the seed, so that wheat is really, really, really important. So I realized, you know, when there's an old saying, don't guide the guide. When I'm fishing, all these people will be saying, boy, it looks good over there. I said, you want to go over there and fish it? We'll go over there and fish it about an hour and not get a bite. And I said, this is why I didn't fish here, okay? But so don't guide the guide. So I quit questioning Bobby because my green patch food plots look perfect, and it's a combination. But I don't use herbicides or pesticides. I don't spray my food plots. And I started doing that initially to save money. But then I had Johnny McWright, who is president of Delta Agriculture, and he came down, and he's talking about that grass that I plow into the food plot is green fertilized. You think about it, most people fertilize a crop that they're going to harvest. So you put all that fertilizer down and you grow that crop and you take that crop away. Well, we're not ever taking crop away. We're just plowing it back into the ground. The only crop that goes away goes in the deer's stomach, and then they come back and deposit it back in the field.
Yeah, it's fertilizer.
Yeah, they offer some fertilizer. So you plow it back in the ground. And so my food plots get better and better and better every year. But the key is to planting the right seed, having a seed that has germ. I can't tell you when I first started, I'd go to the co-op and buy mixtures of seed. I wouldn't know any dates on them. I wouldn't know what percentage of germ was on the seed. And I just so was disappointed. And when I started using Biologic, it was spot on, man. It had good germ, and I got good growth, and the blend is just perfect. So that's all I do. Right. And so I'll get ready. What I'll do is I'll go out there and I'll mow the field, plow it under, turn the roots up, then I'll plow it all under, and then I'll get it soft, man. I'll get it like powder. And then I use a cultipacker once I seed it, and it's good to go. And I save so much money not spraying. Boy, spraying is expensive. You start spraying a bunch of grass killer. Yeah. And boy, you spent some money now. I'm telling you that. And if it's drifting, the wind, you got to be careful when you spray. I hate all that stuff. Else. I hate all that stuff. So I don't do it. And people brag on my food plots, and I like that. And
that's a good thing. Hey. That's a good thing. I honestly think a lot of people would say don't spray just because it kind of affects some of the other stuff in the ecosystem. Well, and I'm not an expert, and I would hate to say that I think that grass killer is a bad thing. Yeah. But
my opinion, it's not a good thing. That's only my opinion. I'm not qualified. I've never researched it. I've never collected data.
Yeah.
So that's a statement completely off the cuff. But
Right.
at least for myself, I believe it's better not to use it if you can get away with it. But
Yeah.
you got to manage the grass, and you can't have all the weeds coming because they will definitely take over. And that's the one thing this farm is blessed with: lots of weeds, lots and lots of coffee weed. Oh
tell me
my
about it.
goodness, nut grass. Oh. Morning glories. I could go on and on and
The
on.
list
So
goes
we
on.
got all kind of stuff to deal with. But that's the kind of thing I do. That's my agenda. Now I got coming up immediately. I'm going to Venice, Louisiana.
Red fishing
Yes, ma'am.
out in the Gulf of America.
Gulf of America. I love it. It's the first time I'll ever be down. First time I've gone red fishing in the Gulf of America.
Yeah, there you go.
Isn't that cool?
Oh gosh, yeah.
That's good. It should have been Gulf of America all along. So I'm
Yeah.
glad we got it right now. So
Well, isn't this the one place that you don't really get that seasick? Because I know you said you get terrible seasickness. That's why you don't do a lot of salt water.
it's amazing. I can go out into the Atlantic Ocean and I can go way out and I'll get sick as a buzzard. I can go a little bit out and I'll still get sick. The Atlantic Ocean makes me sick. Now I can go to the Pacific. I've never been sick in the Pacific. I've been in big waves and never got sick. I don't know the deal. I go to the Gulf of America and I get out there. I don't get sick. So. But what I'm going to be doing, I'm not going to be out into the ocean. I'm going to be fishing the bays, and I'm going to be fishing all the shallow water stuff around the islands and go right out of the pass of the river. And so I'm not going out. I'm not going to be fishing for snapper or tuna or tarpon, which I might. You know, my little buddy went down there last week and caught a tarpon.
Tarpon, tuna get huge. I don't know if you're gonna be able to pull that sucker in the boat.
Ooh, that's a fight.
So hey, that's a little bigger than a bass.
I caught 4 of them one day, and I didn't want to catch another one. They were busting the
No.
surface to catch one every cast. 4 did me in. I had 4 that weighed about 380 pounds, so I had a pretty good string of fish.
That's great. Yeah, I'd say
A lot more than I could carry.
Yeah.
But that's what I got going on, and that's the kind of thing. And I'm practicing with my bow all the time. I like to shoot that bow.
I know you like to fire them warning shots too.
Hey, let me
sure
tell
do.
you, it's a lot of difference between a compound bow and a longbow.
I gotta try to shoot one. That seems interesting. All right, well, moving on into the next question. I think we about wore that question out.
We hadn't even got there, man. I'm just starting about talking about shooting the bow, and a lot of people ask me all the time. They said, "Now, why'd you switch to longbow?" Well, I hunt with some guys out there in Kansas, Sid McCullen and Lynn Beatty, and the Rev. The Rev, although he shoots bows with training wheels on them, is what Lynn tells him. They got training wheels. He's not ready to give up his training wheels. But Lynn and Sid both shoot longbows, and it is a challenge, man. It is such a challenge. And I used to travel all over the country, and I had the privilege to hunt some very, very special places, and I worked at it, and I spent the time. And it takes a lot of time to be able to scout and hunt and find a big deer. So I don't have that time anymore. It's hard to justify spending the money when you don't have a purpose like a television show. So I don't feel comfortable going and spending. So I'm just kind of hunting at home. And I did draw a Kansas tag, and Lynn lets me hunt on his farm at no charge, so I don't have to pay for a expensive hunt. So I do take advantage of those invitations. So if you want to send me ones, keep them the letters coming, folks.
Hey, you won't complain.
Just a deer is a trophy if you kill him with a longbow compared to a compound bow. And so I took it up, and it was so embarrassing. They had they had a deer called Wormy. And they wasn't going to shoot this deer because he was not that old, but he got really sick, and that's why they called him Wormy. He started going downhill. He didn't weigh very much, and he was sharp though. Even though he wasn't feeling very good, he didn't lose his senses. He was very much aware that I was there. He was able to duck an arrow, but I hunted that deer for 10 days, and I really wanted to get him, and I never did. I shot over him 4 times. I shot under him twice.
You know, there's some stories you couldn't get that information out of me. That would be going to my grave.
But let me tell you, I learned so much from that. You know, you shoot a compound bow, and it breaks over, and you shoot against the wall. You peg it out, and a longbow doesn't have a wall. It's no stopping point.
Okay.
You can ease up, and so let's just say you're shooting 28-inch draw. Well, I'm pulling 30 inches. And so my bow is a 28-inch draw. It's 45 pounds at 28 inches. So you get 2 pounds per inch. So I'm shooting around 49 pounds if I pull it all the way back.
Right.
But if you don't pull it all the way back, it's more comfortable.
Okay.
And I shoot better. So that's the way I practice. You know, people say practice makes perfect.
Right.
Practice does not make perfect. Practice can make you worse. Perfect practice makes perfect. So if you get in bad habits and you're out there practicing, well, that's what happened to me. I had found that comfort zone, pulling that bow 28 inches. I found that comfort zone, and I could shoot much, much more accurate. So I would get in that comfort zone. But then when that deer came, my adrenaline was up. Man, I had that thing pegged. I was as far back as I could. So I went from 28 to 30 inches. Well, you think about that, it may not make that big a difference if you creep just a little bit on a compound bow. But on that longbow, at 20 yards, it made about a foot of difference, 8-9 inches at least. So I couldn't figure out how in the world could I go out there and shoot a tennis ball at 20 yards and really feel pretty confident and go to the blind and then shoot over the deer by 10, 12 inches. What in the world happened? And I realized, man, I'm pegged out. Yeah. When my adrenaline's up, man, there's that deer, man, I'm pulling that thing.
I think it's a psychological thing for sure.
Adrenaline.
Yeah.
I mean, you got it. And so it gives you energy, man. I've got that thing pegged. So I shoot a foot over him. So now I have to make myself practice by staying all the way back at full draw. I don't know if you can see it on my nose, but that skint place on my nose is where my bowstring.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. I park that right there. Now, I don't need to lean into it too much. When I lean into it, that's when it cuts my nose and makes it bleed. So I need to just barely touch it, and it doesn't hurt anything. But that is my reminder that I'm completely back at full draw.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what I have to do. If I don't, then when the deer comes, my adrenaline's up and I shoot over.
You're going to overcompensate. Well, since we're on the topic of your longbow, I do know they're having a couple questions. People, first of all, asking what type of longbow you use, like what's the brand? And secondly, what's the difference between a compound and a longbow?
Okay, we just went over the training wheels, and there's a lot of difference between a compound and a longbow. But the one I shoot is called an A&H. It's made in Colorado, and it's an incredible bow. And I don't know enough about them to say that. So when I tell you it's an incredible longbow, it's coming from somebody that's not qualified to discern the difference in different longbows. Yeah. But Sid McCullum, who is my buddy, who gave me this bow, there's no amount of money I'd take for this bow. It means so much to me that Sid gave it to me. But Sid McCullum gave me this bow, and I am so grateful. And I shot the bow. My boys both are good archers, and they shoot recurves and longbows both, and they blow me away. And so I brought this bow back after Sid gave it to me. I let them shoot it, and I could tell they were highly impressed with the bow. So when I go back, I tell Sid, I said, my boys were impressed. And he said, well, I always shot a Black Widow, and it has a great reputation. It's a great bow. And I went to a competition several years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, just a few years back. Give or take 15 years. A few years back. And the guy that won that competition had this A&H bow, and I'd never seen one before. This is Sid talking now. He said, I'd never seen one before, so I asked him if I could shoot it. And he said, I was blown away. There wasn't a bit of vibration in the handle. And he said, the draw was so smooth, so incredibly smooth. And he said, man, it was easy to release, and the arrow flight was incredible. And he said, make a long story short, I've been shooting the A&H ever since.
Wow. Okay.
And so I just got me a new one. I was afraid maybe they'll go out of business and something will happen to mine and I can't replace it. So I got me a backup.
That's your luck. Yep.
Yeah. So I really do like it, and it is you really honestly, for me now, Sid can shoot them all the way out to 30 yards. Now my compound bow, I feel absolutely perfectly comfortable at 50 yards and in. I have practiced a lot at 70 and 80 yards, and I've always felt really, really good at 50 yards and closer. But my compound bow is a lot different. My recurve, I need them 20 yards or closer.
Okay.
Now, that's a different world. Mm-hmm. That's a different world. To get a deer 50 yards is a challenge, but it's not that big of a challenge.
Right.
To get a deer inside of 20 yards, that is a super challenge. The least little bit of stirring wind, or if there is no wind, your thermals carry. I mean, it's just a lot involved. And then to be able to draw, the motion of drawing when you got a deer that close. And a deer has sixth sense, man. They just know you're there for some reason, some way. I don't know, but they know you're there.
Right.
And the minute you start to draw, so unlike a compound bow, it is close range, up close and personal.
Okay.
Not throwing off on a compound bow. I still hunt with one, and if I go to Kansas, I'll take it. I probably won't hunt with it, to be honest, but I'll have it just in case I see a big old giant deer.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, I get excited about those giant deer. I still do, you know. When I did the television show, Hank Jr. and Billy, when we first started, Billy was single. Hank Jr. Had more flexibility. His kids had not. He didn't have, I don't think, but 3 at the time. Now he's got 5. But as his kids came along and started to school and more things were happening, his time became limited. So Hank Jr. could only spend a limited number of days in the field because he had his priorities right, and he's an awesome dad. I'm so proud of the way he's raised his kids, and he's got a heart for his family, and so he's not going to sacrifice his family for the sake of television or going hunting. So it kind of fell on me and Billy. Well, then Billy gets married, and then Billy could not hunt as much. So then that lets the lot fall on me. So I'm the guy that sits in the tree every single day from daylight to dark the entire month of November. And I don't care how much you like banana pudding, you can get too much. I mean, you can get
That's
too
true.
much, man. For like 8 years, every single day of November, I was in a tree, but before daylight and usually getting down after dark.
Yeah.
It made me so happy to get to shoot one because then I got a day off. I got a half a day off. I love to shoot one in the morning. That gives me a day off. But I got enough of it. I really did. I've killed. I'm very, very blessed. I've killed like 40 deer, over 160 with my bow.
Wow.
And I'm very proud of that. That's quite an achievement. I was blessed. But I'm just not. I don't get all that fired up about going sitting in that tree from daylight to dark. I had enough of it. I did it for 15 years off and on, but then that last, like I say, 7 or 8 years, it was every day.
Yeah.
And so now I like to fish. You know, I missed all that October, November fishing.
Right.
Man, I'm like a kid now when I get out
You
there on
actually
that
get to
water.
go, yeah.
Ooh, man, I love that time of year. November especially. Oh, it's a wonderful time.
It's not too hot, not too cold.
Well,
pretty
sometimes
good.
it's pretty cold, but
Well, you get
that's all right.
jackets. Yeah.
I got good jackets. You know?
I hate February. February? No.
That's
Because you want
fishing.
to get out there at 4 o'clock
that's
in the
good
morning
fishing.
when it's
Woo.
like 20 degrees on the water.
Yeah,
A
man.
wind chill.
Them old big sow bass move up. I like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do. That is one thing that when we talking about my agenda, that is, I'm never bored. I'm never lost for something to do. I've always got things going on. And I think that helps keep you young. I'm 72 years old. I feel like I'm 50 years old.
Right.
I'm just as aggressive now as I ever was. The only thing, the temperature did bother me this year, and I don't know if that's age or just that hot, but I love going, I love hunting, and I love fishing, and I'm so enamored with this wintertime fishing because I hadn't got to do it. And then, of course, we got all the new electronics, and that's a whole different thing in the wintertime. And so I'm learning, and it's always exciting to learn. And that's, you like to learn. I watch you out there.
Learning about electronics. That's like, how many times have we been out there? We've had to call tech support for some stuff, and you're like, I even asked them too, and it ended up being that this wire wasn't hooked up. I was like, is everything hooked up? Yes, everything's hooked in properly. I don't know what's gone on. Either a wire's gone out, something in the boat, in one of his live scope, something. I don't stinking know.
Mega
but,
live.
Yeah, you had me on the phone with support. You're like, you deal with it because you've already done
Well, I
that
can't
day.
hear. We were on the lake. The wind's blowing like 40 miles an hour.
And it's hot.
And I've got to put the thing on speakerphone because I've got to be following instruction. I need my hands to be doing what they're asking me to do, and I can't half hear. So it's really tough. If the wind wouldn't have been blowing, I would have been, if we'd have been more in a sheltered place. But then a boat will run by, and I'm
Yep.
trying to listen. I didn't hear half what to say. So the Humminbird technical support people are really good. They're really, really good.
They have a lot of patience, I can tell you that.
Yeah, they do have a lot of patience, and they have to when they deal with me. But that's good. But hey, I got to tell you,
Anyway.
some people, Sarah Beth would never tell you this, but she's top of her class. She's an academic achiever. She makes straight A's, and she liked to rub that in. I made straight D's. When I got out of high school, I thought the alphabet started with a D. I'd never heard of a C or a B or an A. I'm thinking,
That's
oh my
terrible.
Lord, what are those letters? I never seen one. But Sarah Beth always, she's gifted, she's smart, so she likes to rub it in. Well, I got a new drone, and so I've read this book, man, this thing, do this, do that. I mean, it's a lot of things. Orient it, walk around in a circle, do all these things, and it's on Guardian mode, and you have to fly so much time to get it off of Guardian mode. And so Sarah Beth walks in my office, and that drone's sitting there. I said, hey, go out there and fly that drone. And now I had been out there with it and I didn't tell her this. I'd been out there with it a couple hours, and I could get it to fly up about 5 feet off the ground and go right back down. Something would flash, and it'd give me an alert, and I'd go back and get the book and get my reading glasses on, getting bright enough light I could see what it was saying. And I have to do this. You got to initiate this. You got to wait till it finds a Wi-Fi signal. You got to put your phone here next to the monitor, and I wasn't doing any of those things. So I said, go out there and fly that drone. I was in here about 5 minutes. I could hear that little bumblebee out there. I go out there, and she got it up above the tree, just flying it around. Took her about 2 minutes. I'd already been out there for 3 hours, and I never got it over 3 foot tall.
Well, that's why I'm here. You got young people, so you ain't got to worry about it. That's why I tell them all the time. I was like, just let it go. I was like, you're the talent. You're the one that's in front of the camera. Don't worry about nothing else.
Well, she got the drone up in there. Now, whether or not we're going to get any drone footage, I don't know.
will.
We'll see. We'll see about that.
It might end up in the lake. Who knows?
That's right.
That's what I'm worried about.
That'll be a challenge for another day. But so far, she hadn't hit any trees, and she's flown it around. Got pictures of the house, and flew it all the way from here to her mom's house, which is about a quarter of a mile. She flew it and got pictures of her mom's house. She was being secret agent.
I was 100% being secret agent. I'm like, but anyways, I got one more question for you.
All right, come on.
Do you still have hunting sponsors?
A lot of people may know this, and a lot of people may not know this. I had a whole different idea for a business model when we started Hank Parker's Flesh and Blood, or Hank Parker 3D. My boys were both racing NASCAR, and I didn't want to get hunting sponsors. I mean, we had some and we needed some, but that's a tough business model to make money. That's the way my television show, my fishing show works. You go out and you create a platform to promote and market people's equipment, and you get them to share the love, the revenue, and you help grow their market. And it can be good, but it's a lot of pressure. And here's the thing, Berkeley dropped me 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whenever it was. And it broke my heart. I'd been with them for 35 years. But the public would write me letters. I can't believe you quit Berkeley. I can't believe you left them. I can't believe, man, I had nothing to do with it. I begged them.
Like, please.
But yet I got blamed for that. You got to be careful when you get sponsors, because if I tell you to go buy that lose reel, and you buy that lose reel, and the next year I tell you to go buy a Zebco, or I tell you to go buy a different brand, then I lose credibility. You're upset with me. And so the whole thing to be able to market is to maintain credibility. And it's hard to do that with sponsors. You make a commitment, they need to make a commitment.
Right.
And most of my sponsors did. When Forrest Wood was alive, Forrest Wood and I had a handshake deal with Ranger Boat. He never disappointed me, and as far as I know, I never disappointed him. He wanted me to help him. I wanted him to help me. We did a joint venture. We worked together. We were a team. It was perfect. When Tom Mann was alive, I worked with Tom Mann. We never had a written contract. It was all verbal. It was based on a handshake. As far as I know, I never disappointed Tom, and he certainly never disappointed me.
Right.
And that's Tom Bedell with Berkeley. Now, we did have written contracts with Berkeley, but Tom and I, it was a handshake deal. And I knew what to expect from him. He knew what to expect from me. As far as I know, he was never disappointed.
Right.
So that is the basis of our television show, Hank Parker's Outdoor Magazine. And that was a good business model in 1985 when I started the show. But now we're starting the hunting show in 1998.
Okay.
Things are a lot different. Hedge funds are buying a lot of the outdoor entities. And so that business model of old is a tough one. Now, that's the way most people operate, but I didn't want to do that. So I had bought a company called Khmer Deer. And it's an incredible product. And Khmer Deer had taken off and done well. Then I bought a company, and we named them Swacker Broadheads. It was Sonoran Broadheads when I bought it, but we changed the name to Swacker Broadheads. And so my business model and my plan was to grow that company, to grow within the promoting of our television show, help grow Khmer Deer, help grow Swacker.
Yep.
Tom Bedell, when Tom Bedell sold Berkeley, he sold it for $150+ million. I don't know. When I went to work for Tom, Berkeley was worth about $4 million. That's the total value of his company. When he sold it, it was well over $150 million, maybe even more. I wasn't privileged to the numbers. But even Tom himself would have told you this. I was a part of that growth. I contributed a lot to helping that company grow to that level. And so that was my dream, to get my boys involved, and maybe not in my lifetime, but in theirs, to grow that company with Swacker and Khmer Deer and acquire some other companies along the way and grow the value of that company, not necessarily make a paycheck from year to year off of sponsor dollars, but to grow the value of the company. So that was our whole business model. And then we had a major setback with a competitor, and it was a lot of political things behind the scene that I can't even bring up. But nevertheless, it was a disaster for me and for my companies, and we're just now overcoming some of that. We made a commitment to a big company, and they were distributing our product. And boy, they just pulled the rug out from under us without warning, and it was completely, in my opinion, it was completely unfair. They may have a different point of view, and
Not right.
I'm not going to get into it, but nevertheless, man, we just fell flat. And so now we're struggling, so we have to go out and get sponsors to be able to pay it, because airtime and production costs on a hunting show is very, very expensive. So to go back and answer your original question, do I have hunting sponsors?
Yep.
I don't really have hunting sponsors. I have Mossy Oak, which is not, they're a lifestyle company. Mossy Oak has worked really, really hard. Mossy Oak is one of the greatest companies in America. And they're much like Johnny Morris at Bass Pro. They are so conservation-minded, man. They want to prepare for the future. They want it to leave it better than they found it. They want to get involved in restoring the wild turkey. They want to get involved in making sure that the habitat for the bass are perfect. They've got their hands in so many conservation efforts. And so Mossy Oak is not really a hunting company. They started that way, about concealment with camouflage, but they quickly grew into a lifestyle company, and I'm so proud of them because their mission statement is basically a fraternity of brothers that work together for the betterment of the environment. They have native nursery. They got so much stuff going on. So I don't define them as a hunting sponsor.
Right. Well, they're just outdoors. They do fishing,
They're outdoors,
hunting, regular apparel, all this other stuff. So, yeah, I'd say a lifestyle, outdoors lifestyle would be a better
So I
word
still
for them.
own part of Swacker Broadheads. And by the way, let's give Levi Morgan just won the ASA. He missed the IBO World Championship a couple of weeks ago by 1 point. He lost by 1 point. Then he comes back at the ASA and wins it. So
Good for him.
He hadn't won the ASA in 5 years, so that was a big deal. So I'm going to give a shout out to Levi Morgan. He is a big Swacker supporter. He's done a whole lot for our company, and I'm very proud of him. And I have to tell a quick story. We shot a commercial with Levi once, and my boys both are good archers, Billy and Hank both. And so they got high-speed cameras set up. They got this whole thing set up to shoot this commercial. So Levi shows up, and he said, "Hey, guys, how we doing?" They said, "Oh, we're doing great, man." We're trying to knock this commercial out. Levi was running a little bit late. He said, okay, what you need me to do? He said, what we want you to do is shoot a field point, a swacker, a field point, a swacker, a field point, a swacker. We're going to shoot 6 arrows, 3 of them with field points, and 3 with swackers. We're going to see what kind of group we get. And, of course, they'd been out there practicing for an hour, and they picked out an odd yardage, I think 73 yards, And they've been practicing. They got their bows out there and got them sitting beside the truck. And so Levi gets his bow. He says, "How far is it?" And they lie. We're not sure. Levi said, "Okay, it looks like pretty close, 70 yards." And so he shoots a field point, 10 rings it, shoots a swacker, 10 rings it, shoots a field point, 10 rings it, shoots a swacker, 10. Make a long story short, he shot all 6 arrows. They're all in the dead bullseye, and Billy and Hank's kicking their bows up under the truck.
Yeah.
They're not going to shoot. They are not going to shoot. So King Levi, he can make you look bad, but he's really helped me a lot, and great archer. So I just want to give him a shout out. He is a ASA world champion again.
That's awesome. Good job.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good accomplishment. Well, as we end this episode, we also want to give a shout out. We gave a shout out to Mossy. We also want to give a shout out to our other sponsor of this podcast, Liqui Moly.
Liqui Moly.
Yeah.
We're going to explain what that is one day.
One day. We're going to shoot a little video today talking a little bit about it.
Yeah, I don't know that video is going to make our podcast. It's going to make social media. It'll make television, but it probably won't make our podcast. We're going to have Gary on and let him explain Liqui Moly. But I want to take 1 second. Back in the days we were racing, this product comes out of Germany, and it was developed in World War II.
World War I.
No, World War II.
World War II? I thought he said World War I.
No.
Okay, maybe not. Sorry.
Yeah,
Misinformation.
Yeah, misinformation. It was developed in World War II, and the purpose was the weakest part of a tank, a military tank, was to shoot into the belly and put those 50 caliber machine guns, put a hole in the oil pan, and then, of course, the motor can't run.
Yeah.
So they developed this Moly to infiltrate the cylinder walls and the pistons to actually penetrate, and it would actually lubricate well enough that tank could continue to run even though there were no oil in the oil pan. Pretty amazing. So that's the background and the history of Moly. So we were introduced to it at the race shop. And it made a difference. It made a difference. It made a difference in qualifying at Daytona. It just gave you that little bit. It wasn't earth-shattering or nothing. And the guy that we got this Moly from, he came by a race shop one day, and I was fixing to mow some grass. And he said, "How long you had that lawnmower?" I said, "Oh, a year or so." He said, "I guarantee you it's a two-stroke." I said, "It is." He said, "So what's your ratio you mix?" I said, 50-1. He said, if you'll put Liqui Moly in that fuel mixture for 1 month, do you mow every week? I said, "Yeah." He said, 4 mowings. I guarantee you can mow it the next time with 0 oil, and it will not lock that motor up. I said, "Yeah, right." I ain't going to do that. You can forget that. I mean, lawnmower costs $400 or $500. And he said, "No, I promise you, if it hurts it, I'll buy you a new mower." So that became a challenge. I told my boys that, and they laugh at me. "Dad, you're a dummy." And so, sure enough, man, I ran that thing with no oil, and it had no problem. I hadn't missed a beat. That Moly penetrates that cylinder walls and the pistons and actually lubricated with no oil. Now, I don't recommend doing that all the time,
right?
But he did that for me to prove a point. Well, it gave me tremendous confidence in Moly.
Right.
Tremendous confidence. So now I'm at the ICAST show 3 years ago, and I see Liqui Moly, and I thought, I know all about Moly. Well, I hadn't heard anything since we left racing. I hadn't heard a word about Moly. So I'm hooked up with Gary, and I said, "Explain Moly." He said, "Well, it was developed during World War II. It's a German," and I'm listening, and it's this exact story that I heard 20 years ago. And I said, "Well, where's it been?" He said, "Well, it's been developed. It's actually gotten to be gigantic in the automotive business." But he said, "We're promoting it in the marine business. And we've got all kind of products, but we have got Moly. And we've got all the oil that you could possibly use, and it's all approved by the MMA, and it's just great stuff." It is so hard today in our world to promote a product because people are so sick of getting things sold to them. Yeah. And so it's been really difficult for me to impact his market like I would like to. This is some incredible stuff.
Right.
It's called Liqui Moly. Go look it up. And you put about a 7% ratio into your oil. If you got an old car, if you got an older outboard, if you got a two-stroke, man, I highly recommend you look into Moly because it's impressive. So go to liquimoly.com. Is that right?
Liquimoly.com, and it's going to prolong the longevity of your motor, so
no
to
doubt
help it
about
last longer, 100%.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So you need to look into that, and that's who they are. And they came on and help us with our podcast, and I've been very poor for them. I've not done a good job because it's hard to explain to people on social media about a product without them turning you off because everybody's selling something.
Right.
But this is a product worth looking into.
Right, 100%. Well, with all that being said, as we wrap up today, I guess I'll tell you guys bye and see you next week.
Okay, my agenda is going red fishing. Sounds fun. Hey, thanks for being with us. God bless you. I'm Hank Parker. Tell them bye, Sarah Beth. You already did. Bye.
I already did. Bye.
Bye.